What's up, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Seth, and today we're going to be playing some No Man's Sky. Now, I know everybody's already got videos on this, but I already ended up having a full-on Let's Play series of No Man's Sky, so what I wanted to focus on today was talking about the big differences with the most recent big update that ended up happening with No Man's Sky, and how much the game has actually changed since I ended up playing it. Now, we aren't going to, unfortunately, get into any of the base building. Maybe we'll get into a little bit of the terraforming today, just so I can show you guys that you can in fact terraform the environment and change things around, and the base building is very intuitive. A lot of the stuff that goes on with the later portion of the game I do actually know about, so I will talk about that today, but for the most part we're just going to be experiencing the beginning of the game while I end up going through all of that. So for those of you that don't know, multiplayer is now finally, after like years of this game promising it, at day one, we've actually got multiplayer, which essentially is just going to be a squad-based 4-player multiplayer that for some weird reason has some PvP, despite the fact that you want to be playing with your friends rather than fighting against them. But you can actually set it so that random people can end up actually joining your game. They do still have to join you through Steam, as far as I know. I've got a couple files here. Here's my main file of the game, which, come to think of it, I've only put 27 hours into it, which is not really as impressive as I thought it was, considering how much time you end up actually spending on this game. I wish I could show you when my last save was actually played, but I ended up actually loading this file more recently. And I could load it today, but I do want to mention that if you've got an old file and you're coming back to the game, a lot of your previous mods and items that you ended up getting might not actually be on your character anymore. Instead, you'll be able to actually deconstruct or dismantle those items down into a specific type of resource that you can then end up selling instead. So it's kind of a nice way of, forcing you to end up going back into the game with, actually having a good piece of credits and units, right? So we got normal mode, which is just, of course, regular. Survival, which is limited resources, increased hazards, stronger, more aggressive enemies. The combat is still kind of uggles, so I personally don't really recommend that. Then there's permadeath, which is just an accident waiting to happen because you'll still end up just dying randomly in this game. And then creative mode, because the building mechanics are actually really good. I'm actually surprised how much of the environment you get to actually terraform. So we've got an exceedingly long loading time here, startup screen. So I'm going to end up skipping through this, but we do get a beautiful screen at the beginning, which was extremely epic even a couple years back when this game first ended up coming out. I guess this is a good opportunity for me to mention that when No Man's Sky ended up coming out, it was one of those games that unfortunately was a team of like, what, 5 or 10 people or something like that. Like, this is an indie game for all intensive purposes, which in that regard, it's extremely impressive. But a lot of people ended up getting into the hype of the game, not to mention they were kind of selling this game off as if it was going to end up being a AAA title rather than playing it off as an indie team that's actually developing this game. And I think that's why a lot of the ambitious ideas and projects that they ended up talking about didn't end up actually making it into the game day one. That was actually a surprisingly good loading time. Okay, well anyways, let's initialize here. My biggest point, though, is that I never ended up getting into any of that hype because I already got my hype train killed when Fable 1 ended up coming out. So now I know better than to get overly hyped about a video game, and instead I just wait to see what's going to happen. So obviously you're going to notice the graphical fidelity has stepped up insanely. Like, the graphics actually look really good now. They got proper dynamic lighting and the way that the world works, high-res textures and everything. It just looks great. You're going to have to go through a lot of your settings and the graphical options, which I'll show you guys very briefly what you can end up changing with that, just so you guys know, because I kind of want this to be like an all-intensive, like, okay, here are the big differences between the earlier version of the game and the more recent version, because, of course, the last time I played this game was years ago, right? The multiplayer is a lot of fun. We're not going to get to experience that today, but it is beautiful. You've got third-person mode, not only on our person, but you can also get third person in your ship as well. You can also choose whether or not it's first or third person by pressing X, going over to the settings menu right here. It's a little bit complicated, and then you can toggle the camera view, so there's going to be the first person, which I'm always a big fan of third person in video games, dude. So we got quite a few other things that you can do in this menu. There's kind of the quick menu, I guess I would say, where you can end up up charging your tools right away. You can summon your vehicles. You can end up just, you know, changing your secondary weapon, toggling your torch, which we can't use that right now. Then there's also going to end up being various gestures, so we can end up like bowing or dancing and stuff like that. But then also there's going to end up being a photo mode, which so long as you're in single player, the game's going to end up pausing. While you're landed on a planet, you can pretty much put the camera anywhere you want. You can change the time of day for the photo. You can change the fog intensity, the cloud level. You can change the filters and stuff. It's actually really, really cool. You can make some really artistic shots. If you're playing in multiplayer, you can still go to the photo mode, but you aren't going to be able to... oh, get out of here, you stupid sentinel. You aren't going to be able to have the world pause or anything like that. Oh my gosh, can this guy like seriously get out of my face? Because otherwise I am going to end up dying by freezing to death. Let's see, can we end up going into this? Is this a deep enough cave? Yeah, it is. Okay, just deep enough that we can end up actually getting in here. So they want us to recharge thermal protection with sodium. So we're gonna press C to use our scanner here. Whoops-a-daisy, it's broken. So we need to get ourselves some ferrite dust, which as far as I know, we can just get that off of... where do we get ferrite dust? I thought it was just off of normal rocks and stuff. That doesn't actually count as a rock. That's pure ferrite. We can't get that because we don't have a better mining tool. There's more pure ferrite. I just want some normal ferrite, please. Where's a normal old rock? There's a normal old rock, and you can see we got a nice little icon showing us where the sentinels are, because otherwise if this jerk spots me, we still got the issue of mining the environment is going to end up getting these guys very angry with us. So it is still a very, very annoying feature of the game. However, you do, later on anyways, have more methods of actually fighting those guys back and kind of avoiding detection and stuff like that. As you can see, he's not going to fly on over here out of his way to end up grabbing us. They still do have the exploit, as it were, where you can just, you know, you can see in the top right, our, you know, thingamabob is going to end up charging up, like, you know, our laser is overheating. And as it ends up getting to the full bar, we can just let go and then just click again, and then immediately we're just going to end up charging it. You can't actually see behind my face cam, unfortunately, but there is a life bar as well as the blue bar that's about right here, kind of at my nose level. That's actually going to be the environmental effect. So in this case, we're freezing to death very slowly. So that's where we, you know, would normally go into our inventory, go to our exosuit, and then try to fill this thermal protection or hazard protection by sodium nitrate, various battery icons and items like that. So we got our starship right here that we can't actually do anything with just yet because we're trying to upgrade our scanner. And it's very cool that they actually start you kind of at square one where a lot of your tools don't end up working. So here we're going to use our scanner, and they wanted us to get sodium, which that is which one of these is sodium? Is the yellow stuff sodium? The NA+, that wouldn't really make that much sense, but I guess we can check it out. More importantly than that we got our ship in the distance. So that's pretty cool. Now, a little bit later on, when we end up getting the terraforming tool, that is actually now how we end up digging through caves and stuff like that. Originally, you would actually just be able to do that with your normal old laser. So it's cool that they have kind of a separate tool for that now, kind of more related to like you know, actually digging in the environment and stuff. And eventually you end up getting a scanner so that you can end up scanning creatures and scanning stuff in the environment. That plant ended up attacking me, and as you end up upgrading various parts about your scanner and about your various tools and stuff like that, you're essentially going to end up getting more credits and more units by actually scanning more things, right? So another big thing too that they've added to the game is they actually have what do they call it, like giant big ships, big battleships that you can end up getting. The name escapes me right now, sorry to say. You know when that happens, when you're just trying to say the simple name of something and you just completely forget, it just doesn't come to you, and then it will to me afterwards in editing. Courier ships, I don't know. Cargo ships, that's it. So you can get one of those. Oh, somebody's actually joining my game right now. I didn't know that I was open to the public. Well, rip. You can actually get cargo ships. You can pilot one yourself. You can actually get separate cargo ships that are just going to be part of your fleet. So you can use them to go and navigate planets and get resources for you. You can actually have them collect resources for you, send them on quests, as well as completing quests yourselves, which is really, really cool. And right now we're generic spaceman, but you can actually go to a starship area, whatever they call it, like a space hub Let's just say that's what it is. And you can actually customize your character and stuff. And there's going to be all sorts of different upgrades, including upgrading your suit's inventory, various mods to end up making you either that much more resilient while you're fighting creatures and stuff, or just towards the environment and exploration. Kind of, you know, get to pick and choose the upgrades that end up giving you the various builds that you actually want to how you play the game, right? Here's our ship. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm also noticing that my CPU is being drained like crazy, so hopefully we're not dealing with some frame rate issues here. Let me actually double check, because that should not be the case right now, seriously. Yeah, so you know what? I am noticing that there is a little bit of jitteriness in the footage. Hopefully it's not going to be too much of a problem for you guys. I mean, the audio should still be fine, hopefully, but yeah, I think that most of all it's got to do with the screen itself, which is very disappointing, because that just goes to show that this game is not 100% optimized, because I have a god computer, and if I can't record this, man alive. So anyways, I promised you guys I was going to show you the graphical settings. This is it right here, just a quick little, you know, there's motion blur, which is actually stopped by my face cam again. Thankfully, you can turn it off. You can change the motion blur amount. You can change like your field of view and stuff like that. I guess I could just crank down some of my graphical settings. Maybe then we would end up dealing with less of a issue as far as like the movement and the junk like that. But anyways, we're going to take a quick little peek at our ship right here. As we end up hopping into it, it's obviously going to end up not working, which the sense of discovery in this game is still unprecedented, dude. Like, I absolutely love it. The flight mechanics also, those of you with a mouse and keyboard are going to notice right away, are really, really bad by default. You can actually change it. I can't really describe how it is, but you'll just kind of see when you end up playing this game with the default controls. You're going to definitely have to go into the settings and change it. You can actually make the controls a little bit better for the flight. Personally, I would recommend you actually have a controller on hand. Those of you playing on PS4, you're going to feel right at home because you're going to be playing this game with a controller, which honestly, it feels like in a lot of ways this game is designed for that. But of course, it means that combat is going to be a lot more difficult. But I find that the ship mechanics are a lot better with the controller. So anyways, we got to get metal plating and a hermetic seal repair. So it's going to end up being a little bit difficult for us because we gotta go and get these items in order to end up doing this, which whoopsie daisy, the game usually does a pretty good job telling us what the quest line is going to be. So repair the pulse engine, collect ferrite dust, and then use ferrite dust to craft the metal plating. We can also end up searching all this stuff. These red boxes usually are going to end up having ammo or carbon and various things like that. These damaged crates you can end up kind of siphoning through and just taking these resources. You can trade with other players, by the way, so long as they're within your vicinity. I just want to mention that. Let me actually check this box right here. Is it going to let me? There we go. And then this is just going to be a light we can interact with. Also a damaged machinery, which usually these things will end up kind of giving us different quest lines sometimes. But we're going to have to use a locking mechanism right here, which requires us to have even more ferrite. So I guess we're just going to have to go and do that. There's going to be the distress beacon, which I think, if I recall correctly, just kind of starts the main quest line where you're trying to get to the Atlas, which... I mean, essentially what that's going to end up doing is when you end up getting to the Atlas, it slowly just kind of points you to the center of the galaxy. And then you take like 1 billion years, like literally, to end up getting there. And then you end up just getting a new game plus. Now, there is going to be access points where you can actually fast travel around the universe, which is really, really cool. You can always fast travel to your base so long as you have a, you know, a fast travel point actually in your base. You're going to be able to fast travel out of there, but you're going to end up finding these gates kind of around planets, and then also just around you know, the star bases and starports and stuff like that. And then sometimes you can end up finding resources like this, where we're going to end up gathering these, and then we can end up selling them and getting a whole bunch of extra money for it and stuff like that. So anyways, I gotta try and find ourselves some more ferrite, but it doesn't seem like any of these are actually related to it, because all of that is just kind of the cave generated items. So let me see if I can track some more of this down, because for some weird reason we've got like literally no rocks in the area. This is absolutely disgusting. I mean, I could probably find some ferrite in the caves very easily, but just considering my luck, it doesn't look like, there we go, any of these tiny little rocks is going to end up doing it actually. So let's just laser all of these things down. We needed to get like 50 of them or something like that. New guide entry unlocked. Press P to read. So that's going to be towards crafting. We'll deal with that in a little bit. because otherwise we're going to end up making the metal plate. So the crafting is still a bit of a clunky system. Thankfully, the game does have a tutorial now where you just click on any of these empty inventory slots and then you just select the item that you're trying to end up crafting. So there you go. We got our metal plate. I also still want to try and get a bunch of this stuff as well, just so that we can end up repairing this other escape pod or whatever you want to call it over here. We will get to go into the flying. I don't know if we're going to get to go into the terraforming stuff. Oh, pure ferrite. Okay, we can't actually get that right now because we would require, it would require us to have a much better tool than we actually do right now. So we can actually go to our personal inventory and then go to the technology tab. No, can we not repair our ship just on the go? I think we have to actually go inside it, maybe. Okay. Tab and repair items. Okay. What is it talking about here? We're supposed to be able to just go to the repair scene of this thing and actually fix it. Oh, they're wanting us to fix the launch thrusters. That's right. So, pure ferrite, which we don't actually have. That weird jelly, which we don't actually have. Maybe they're trying to get us to fix the pulse engine then? Yeah, because that's going to require the metal, and then this is going to require heretic seal or something. I don't know, but the game does a pretty good job. Just, I know I can't keep repeating, but just telling us where we're supposed to go. Partially completed. Board the starship and consult the ship's diagnostics. So this is going to tell us what we're going to have to do next. I do like the starting quest. I do like how cool it is and how it kind of introduces the player to a lot of this stuff, because originally this game didn't really have that much of a tutorial. So distress beacon cache. That's one of the cool things, is because now locate the seal by scanning the environment and blah blah blah. It's gonna end up showing us where this actual thing is, which is way over. Is it in just a stretch beacon? Okay, so I guess we just gotta check this for supplies now. We couldn't previously, even though take navigational data. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we got it. And that, I think, navigation data recovered. Build a what's it called? Yeah. So we gotta actually craft ourselves another metal plating. Loop. And then we press Z and we end up crafting the signal booster, which actually requires carbon nanotubes and sodium as well. So the carbon nanotubes is going to be right here, which is going to require carbon, obviously, I guess. And then just sodium in general. So let's just scan the environment here. Do we have any sodium? What does the sodium actually look like? Sodium, I think, is going to be that one. Yeah, the Na. And then carbon. Here's a pro tip for any of you guys that are just starting out in this game. Sodium is going to be plants. Or not sodium, carbon. It took me the longest time to actually realize in this game that plants were actually just carbon. It's any type of life form type of thing. Yeah, I noticed as soon as I start actually like running through the environment, that's when I get these big frame dips. So I guess that means we're not going to be able to do a let's play of this game, unfortunately. But again, I'm really hoping that we're not going to deal with too much issue in the actual video. I hope it's not too bad for you guys. If it is, obviously, you'll just never end up seeing this. But I'll do my best to go through it in editing and make sure that things aren't absolutely disgusting. So long as you can hear everything, even if we end up getting some choppy frame rate, whatever. That's just kind of the name of the game here, you know. Maybe I can just turn some of my graphical settings down, or my recording settings down. But anyways, let me go and get some of this carbon and just kind of gather some of these resources here so that we can get a little bit more prepared. Oh, we got a sentinel coming in. Get out of my face, dude. Stupid jerk face. Like, seriously. Okay, can we craft that? Yes, we can. And then we still needed... Oh, we do have all of the sodium that we need, so we can actually just get on out of here and go back to our ship. I actually completely lost track of where my ship was, and the game's not actually showing us where it is. So I guess screw it. We'll just build this, which essentially is going to end up being a furnace from Minecraft. No, this isn't the furnace. Never mind. Sorry about that. There is another item that is like a furnace. This is actually really cool. This is essentially going to be a beacon, which normally you would actually have to find these on planets to end up locating nearby structures, deciphering various stuff in the environment. But now you can actually just craft them on your person and use various items to end up boosting the signal so that you can detect stuff, and in this case a distress frequency, which is what we're supposed to do, so that we can go and get that various material. And it's just beautifully shows us all of the nearby stuff in the environment, which is really cool that we can actually craft these on our person. Really improves the exploration. We gotta go away over there, so that's gonna take me quite a while, but before we end up doing that, let's actually pick this thing up. which is going to end up putting it back into our inventory. Fun fact, if you end up putting a furnace down and then you end up picking it up, you are going to end up losing all the fuel that was in it. And fun fact as well is one of the old bugs, if you can call it that, that they had in the game was anytime you were running, you would melee attack and then use your jetpack. And that was actually the fastest way of traveling, still is in fact. But as you can see in third person, they actually kept it in the game on purpose, to the point where they ended up actually giving us a unique animation to dash forward while you're actually using your rocket thrusters, which is really, really cool. And this right here, I love this. Buried technology. So if you have your terraformer, you dig into the environment and quite literally end up finding a piece of technology that you can end up using. Blizzard detected! Blizzard detected! That's not good. Oh boy. Yeah, you know what? This is bad, Moon. This is really bad. All right, so just for kicks, I wanted to double check and see what was going on with my recording software and stuff. It seems that we are actually dealing with some big frame rate dips during certain moments in the gameplay. Sorry about that, guys. That's when my CPU just gets absolutely drained, and unfortunately, this game is a little bit more graphic intensive, which does mean that we are going to end up dealing with certain issues, most of all because I'm recording this at such a high quality, right, at 1080p and blah, 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 blah. We're going to end up dying in the environment, by the way, if I don't end up like... This blizzard is really, really bad. But I noticed that the audio is still all in sync and everything like that, so though it might end up being a little bit annoying for you guys, and I'm sorry about that, it does mean that the footage should actually be good, because we only deal with the frame rate issues during certain segments. Let me actually see. Let's use our sodium right here to end up repairing our suit. I should actually just go for more sodium, or try and find myself a cave, because otherwise I'm going to end up dying here, because man alive. So there is going to end up being a lot of time spent just navigating through the environment, obviously, but when you end up getting your ship, you obviously can end up in going through the environment a lot better. This same guy ended up actually joining my game again. Is that completely random, or is it because I'm the only one playing this game right now? So another thing too that I want to mention is there are mods for the game. You might consider them cheating. They kind of are, but the ease of use of them and what they end up actually doing for the game, I would highly recommend. Like, there's one of them that I would recommend just you get right away, where when you normally have your ship landed and you actually take off, every single time you take off, it drains fuel. So you have to constantly like keep feeding your ship the resources over and over again. There's a mod that gets rid of the fuel cost for that, which makes it 10 times better, because then you're actually like navigating through the environment and can use your ship as much as you want instead of it being more of an annoyance. There's lots of other things that have been added to the game that actually were originally mods in the first place. So now you can actually fly low to the ground and stuff like that, because originally you would actually be stuck at a set altitude. And it's really, really nice that they ended up like changing as much of the game as they did, especially when we get to the starport, man. Like, that's just the coolest part when you guys get to see that. So let's recover the supplies here. We got that weird steel, and we could actually navigate a bit more of the environment here and steal some of the resources, but we're not really gonna do any of that right now. There's the other player right over there. What is the... Oh, they want us to go to the quick menu to turn on our torch, by the way. So let's just do that. Bloop, which, as you can see, the flashlight kind of sucks in this game. But they want us to use the visor to pinpoint an area. So the visor is not actually installed. So let's go back to, is there a multi-tool or on our person? Where do we actually get the visor thing? I think it might actually be on our multi-tool. Is that the visor? Yeah, there it is. So we actually need Carmen, the nanotubes again. So let's actually, I need to get more carbon. All right, well, thankfully we have a bunch of plants around. There we go. And I want to point out that you're going to end up getting different multi-tools that you'll end up buying that will have more slots in them. The point being is that you can end up getting different mods further down the line that'll give you grenade launchers, machine guns, and stuff like that. So you can actually have some multi-tools focused on combat, while you can have other ones more focused on mining and stuff like that. Mining, of course, is going to end up being a lot more useful to you, at least in the early game, because you're going to be mining a lot of the resources yourself. But then as you get further into the game, you know, you could end up, you know, focusing more on combat so that you can end up raiding different forts and stuff like that to try and get your hands on various resources by actually blasting your way into certain areas or fighting sentinels and junk like that, right? So anyways, now let's get our binoculars on here. and you can see that we can actually tag stuff. Other players are going to see what you end up tagging, which is very, very nice. And you can see there's a compass at the top middle of the screen right now as well, where we can kind of see various items in the environment and scan various things. And well, if we end up actually going over here and scanning this rock, it's already been scanned, or at least it's scanned immediately. There we go. This is a prime example. So you can scan this, you can scan various creatures and stuff like that. And as you scan these things, you're going to end up getting some units. You can go into your menu right here. Where is it? In guide, milestone, discoveries. Yeah, that's it. And then you can actually end up naming your discoveries and uploading them to the universe. I'm not entirely sure how the naming works. I haven't actually seen anybody else's named projects, so I don't know if they go through a queue system. I think it's more about naming it for yourself, which is very useful, because if you have like a personal base on a certain planet, you might want to name that planet something specific, just so that as you end up getting to the further points of the game, you're going to be able to navigate that much easier, right? Okay, let's just use the sodium nitrate here. I don't even want to actually do that, but whatever. And gotta be very careful with our jetpack, because fall damage is a big thing in this game, at least early on, because our jetpack kind of sucks, as you can see here, and I gotta be really, really careful with the tapping of it. But otherwise, let me just head back to our ship and hopefully get it repaired so that we can do some flying. There's my ship off in the distance. I actually really love the graphical presentation of this game, dude. Like, I'm a big fan of this game in general, you guys. And since they've had this update, like, I really have actually been wanting to put a lot more time to actually playing it. But most of all, I'm just hearing a lot of experiences from other people. My good friend Stratus424 also has just been playing this game like an absolute madman. That's how I know a lot of what actually goes on with the end game, including all the fast traveling and stuff. Oh man alive, our life support is really, really low. Let's get into our ship and hopefully let that recharge. Does that how it recharges? No, we just got our shield up. Our life support is just slowly going down because I don't have any oxygen. So anyways, where is it? Where was the thing to do with our ship? How do we actually... Oh yeah, they wanted to repair the pulse engine, so let's just do that. And now I'm guessing they want us to do this part, which is going to require the dihydrogen jelly and pure ferrite. So this thing is, how do we actually craft this component? This weird jelly thing that's actually going to require hydrogen, just period. Okay. And then this is where we're going to have to actually spend some time getting into that furnace that I was talking to you guys about. But first, let's scan the environment, see if we can find... Oh, there it is. Some blue stone right there is going to give us the hydrogen. And then the way that you can actually get pure ferrite and various other resources, at least at the early game, is we're going to have to smelt it in order to end up actually getting the resource, right? Can you get out of here? Like, seriously, you jerk face? These guys, why are they still here in this game? Like, they're so annoying, dude. They just kind of come over to you anytime you're actually trying to mine stuff, and then you just gotta wait for them to go away. It's really, really annoying. So anyways, let's see if we can end up getting ourselves enough this resource here. If this guy ever, like, gets out of my face, dude. Like, seriously. Please go away. Please go away. Okay, I'm just gonna have to be an idiot and just do it, like, one at a time like a dummy. Alright, fine. Well, we got that beautiful jelly, so now we can actually get to repairing that segment of the ship here. We gotta oil it up, apparently, and then get the pure ferrite. So, how much ferrite did we actually end up having on our person? Do we have enough? Where's my ferrite? Or ferrite, there it is. 16, that is not enough. We need like 50 of it, so I guess I'm gonna have to go around gathering rocks while this stupid sentinel is just hanging out in the nearby vicinity. Like, man, we're slowly dying too. Like, I seriously gotta get off this rock, dude. Otherwise, I'm going to end up dying, and that's not good. Oh no, our mining tool is out too? Oh, this game is like still so inconvenient in so many different ways. At least it's just carbon to end up filling that thing so that you can end up mining more. But man alive, the amount of resource gathering in this game is pretty insane. It's pretty cool, like, as far as just a raw survival game though, that's for sure. Okay, so now we got crafted metal plating. So let's do that. Let's try and get this done as quickly as possible here. And then the portable refinery. So this is that thing that I was talking about. We need oxygen? Really? And where, pray tell, do we end up actually getting oxygen? O2. I'm going to need some of that for myself, actually. Because I'm slowly dying here. Like, man alive. As you're on extreme condition planets, obviously you're going to end up needing better resistances to the environment, including more life support. But you can actually find certain planets that will quite literally just be nothing but peaceful. Sometimes you can end up finding spaceports on planets that will end up giving you various access to various resources and junk like that. Okay, so you know what we gotta do here? We gotta actually give ourselves that oxygen, because otherwise I'm going to die. And then I gotta find more oxygen. Is there any nearby at all? Oh my gosh, dude. Seriously? Oh, this game sometimes. Oh, geez. Well, let me search around. Ah! Ah! Oh, geez. That was actually really, really close. That pit almost killed me, dude. I don't know how we're gonna get out of here. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. I gotta wait for my jetpack and just... There we go. Thankfully, the jetpack is still extremely overpowered. Man alive. Let's get some of this resource just for kicks, though. And then, oh, I don't want to go near that acid plant. Can we actually find more O2 in the area? Oh, there's some. Jeez Louise, so far away. Why? Why? Here we go. So we got 2 plants right here. This should throw us over the top if I could ever actually get to this other one, but it doesn't seem like that I can, so I gotta actually get this dumb thing out of the way. But at least we should have enough that we can end up finally getting our ship going, which... For those of you that already know No Man's Sky, it's not really going to be that impressive, but for those of you that haven't played No Man's Sky before, it is a sight to behold at what this game actually entails in terms of the actual gameplay and the exploration. Like, there's no game in existence, I would argue, that is as cool and as much of an emphasis on discovery as No Man's Sky. Like, doing everything for the first time is so exciting and cool. Alright, so let's plop down the portable refinery here. And then we gotta go into this thing. And for our input, we're going to end up transferring our ferrite dust. And for our fuel, we're just gonna throw some carbon in here. And then the crafting is pretty crazy, in fact, because... you do actually spend real time for the process. We are going to start building that right now. It actually shows the amount of time it's going to take. Shows the amount that's actually processed. So you do definitely got to keep that in mind, because a lot of this game is got to do with like time management. And as I've said before, like, this game is actually surprisingly a very, very effective, like, hardcore survival game. So any of that fuel that we ended up having in this thing is just gone as soon as I take it out of my inventory, but whatever, we're just gonna go for it. Also, I didn't mention earlier, but yeah, we can actually start repairing our ship from a distance. We're just going to end up getting in our ship right now, though, and I'm going to grab a controller. But before we end up doing that, let me swap on over to the third-person view, which I think is fantastic because of the amount of different ships that you can end up actually buying. And here, folks, is where this game goes off-world, because while you actually saw the gameplay that we ended up actually having, you know, just in this one planet alone, right? You know, the environment that you're dealing with and everything. No Man's Sky is one of the first games that ends up actually having it where you can not only go out into the atmosphere. There are a couple games that do this. This game right here, this has been one of my dreams ever since I was a little kid, where I was like, dude, why don't they make a game where you can actually take a ship and go into outer space? So not only can we end up actually going into outer space, guys and gals, but the system that we're in right here, like the galaxy, you can see that it showed that there's 4 planets and 2 moons. But as we end up evolving a little bit further on and getting hyperdrive, we can end up going into different galaxies and essentially just exploring the universe. And it's absolutely insane. The game conveniently does show like real time of how it's going to end up being. Like you can see right here, it's going to take us 20 minutes. That's real life time if we're flying as fast as we are right now to end up getting to that space station. But if we go into our hyperdrive, which is absolutely beautiful, like seriously, now you can see that time has actually been reduced to 1 minute. And I do love the fact that everything is kind of adjusted in real time with this game. That was one of the things that I thought was very impressive about it, because this is something that's always been in the game. But I do think that it's really cool that we've got so many new changes to the game. You know, the better graphics, the flight mechanics have been completely obliterated than the previous versions of the game. Like, you can actually do space combat against space pirates, defend your fleet against pirates. You can end up having a quest where you have to save a bunch of peaceful ships from space pirates, and the more difficult the mission, the more units you're going to end up getting. And the reason to actually get all the units, we're going to show you in a second when we end up actually getting to the space station, because a lot of that has actually got to do with not only upgrading yourself and your ship, but also just the various trading mechanics of the game, which is where there is definitely a lot of depth. Like, this game is very much like one of those space environmental simulators. Oh my gosh, Illuminati confirmed. I love it. Let's just fly right on in here. Woo! Thankfully, it automatically just goes into autopilot as soon as we end up getting in here. But this is going to end up being one of the space stations. There are so many of these out in the universe, and you can actually fast travel from any of the space stations that you've actually discovered. So there's a lot more control towards, like, actually navigating through the environment. If we go over onto that side right there, which we aren't going to today just because we want to try and save on time. I mean, this video is going to be like an hour long anyways. But over there is going to be where the fast travel location is and everything like that. And then this side is going to be more focused on, like, all of the trading stuff. So we can go and talk to various aliens to end up learning about their language by trading them specific resources and stuff like that. There's going to be a couple different alien races in the game, so you're going to have to discover each of their different languages. And as you discover more of their languages, you can get better trading offers. You can end up getting free items from them if you end up pleasing them and stuff like that. But you can see, like, there's this guy who's a technology merchant. And if we take a quick peek at his inventory, even though we don't actually understand anything about him, we can actually see that there's scanner module, 16.1%. So a moderate upgrade to the multi-tool scanning systems. You can end up upgrading it, and various other upgrades that you're going to end up finding out in the environment, which is really, really cool. Just selling stuff as well. And then if we go over here, there's a weapons terminal. So as I said, this is kind of the weapon aspect of the multi-tool. So you can see we got so many more mechanical, settings for mods and stuff like that. Damage potential, scanner range, and junk like that. This is an S-class rifle, which is why it's over 3 million units. But there's so many things you can do. You can actually upgrade your inventory space as well with the exosuit thing. Now, one thing for old school, players to end up recognizing is that as you would end up upgrading the inventory slots in your exosuit, eventually it just costed more and more units to infinium. And so it was just like astronomically, ridiculously expensive to end up upgrading your suit any further than a certain point, right? Because it would literally cost you millions of units. Now they've got it set up so that it caps eventually. I don't know what the cap is off the top of my head, but eventually it does stop, and then it just ends up requiring the same amount of units from that point forward. So we're not going to deal with that, but I do want to show you that right here is where you're going to customize your appearance. So there's various races. There's the Gek, the Viking, the Korvax, the Travelers, and then Anomaly is just going to end up being our character. And you can customize your character pretty well. I like the customization. You can change your various colors, helmet, and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. I like the character that we got right here. And then last but not least, this is going to be the spaceport, where you quite literally can end up not only trading with any of the passerby ships, but you can also end up buying different ships from these dudes in general that will end up being, better than yours in many different ways because of the various inventory spaces that they have, the various upgrades that they have. You can also end up just putting, more upgrades into your ship as well and stuff like that. Now, one thing that's important to keep in mind is that you can see right here that we got a C-class fighter. So this is a fighter ship, meaning it's got bonus towards damage rather than shield and hyperdrive, which would be from an exploration type of ship. But the different classes is actually something to note, because there are S-class ships that are apparently extremely rare, and then there's also even like a rarity type or something. It's like a unique, very rare, very weird looking ships that are kind of like unicorns that are very, very expensive. They're not very good function-wise, but they look really, really cool, and that's most of all what you're spending your units on. Now, again, to reiterate the modding situation, There is actually a mod that makes it so that every ship that you come across is an S-class, which does mean that they're all going to end up being super duper expensive, but it means that you're going to end up seeing the benefit of actually, you know, being able to buy S-class ships instead of wasting all your units on a low-tiered one, so that you can end up essentially slowly grinding your way up to higher-tiered ones and stuff like that. But anyways, guys and gals, I think that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you found this video not only helpful for old No Man's Sky versus new No Man's Sky, but just in general, hopefully you found this video entertaining, and maybe if you haven't actually played No Man's Sky, it's something that you're going to end up being interested in picking up now, and I would actually highly recommend it, because the game used to not be the best, but it is absolutely awesome now, dude. Seriously. Anyways, thanks for watching, very much appreciate it. Sorry this video was so long, but there was a lot to cover. I would love to do a Let's Play of this game again, but honestly speaking, I just don't have the time, because the game is extremely grindy, especially at the early segments, and it doesn't really make well for YouTube. It makes this game's really, really good for live streaming, I would say, but for YouTube, you know, I would just inherently make a lot of cuts of all of the stuff that we're just kind of repeating, including resource gathering, and it's like, I don't know, I would end up spending like literal hours just doing off-camera stuff. But in either case, I do have a full Let's Play series of this game, which I will link to in the description and stuff if you want to check it out, but that is an old No Man's Sky, so there isn't really as much going on for it, and the graphics are very different. But in either case, thanks for watching, guys and gals. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell. And if you want to support me, you can always click that join button down below, which is going to give you access to a custom picture by your name when you end up leaving comments. You also get custom emojis when I'm live streaming and stuff. You can also check out my merch, but if you don't have any money and still want to go the extra mile as supporting me, check the links down below for Gawkbox as well as Solidarity app, which are going to quite literally be sponsored, game apps. So it's like you'll go onto it, you know, check out the link with your phone. It'll tell you to download this game, play it for a few minutes, and then you'll end up getting free money because they're sponsoring you know, you playing the game in the hopes that you end up actually enjoying the game and spending some money on it ultimately, right? But anyways, you get free money that you can donate to me, so how cool is that? And it takes like 2 minutes of your time. Thanks for watching though, regardless, guys and gals. Sayonara and stay epic.